Hey, it's Romy. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel Libra. This is your November soul story. So if you have a Libra sun, rising or moon, then the reading is general, but it may well resonate for you. It's designed to give you intuitive guidance and an energy forecast into the influences that I pick up for the month ahead. So I hope you enjoy the reading. Let's go ahead, get started and see what's coming up for you.
Okay, Libra, so we've moved into Scorpio season. The sun's illuminating that second house of value for you. And this month, intentionality is everything. You have to mean what you say and say what you mean. And that's going to be supported as we see Mercury moving direct in your sign right at the beginning of November on the 3rd of the month. We also still have Venus in your sign supporting you right through to the 21st before she takes her move into the sign of Scorpio. We open up your reading with the Two of Wands, and it's important because the step change of energy that's coming in November can feel exhilarating or it can feel terrifying, okay? There is a vibrancy and a sense of everything starting to pick up and get going and get moving. This turning point presents some really wonderful possibilities for you, okay? But what it means is that the plans that you have in place, what is going on within your mind, your own thoughts about what comes next, need to be communicated. They need to be communicated. It's going to require, even if it feels like a difficult, tough conversation, a level of emotional honesty, because there's a sense, particularly with some of these planets stationing direct. We also have Mars moving direct in Aries on the 14th in your 7th house of relationship, and then at the end of the month, Neptune moving direct. There's still a tendency for a little bit of uncertainty or confusion or crossed wires, okay? And so I don't feel that through the month of November that's coming from a perspective of you not sure what you want or where you're going. I think that that clarity is coming in quite powerfully for you, actually, Libra. But what I do think is that there may be people around you who don't see your vision or are just a little bit a step behind in terms of catching up on what you see as the art of the possible, or where your hunch or your instinct or your intuition is guiding you right now. And so it's going to be important that you have that honest expression, that conversation. It's going to make all the difference. And with Mars being retrograde in Aries in your 7th house of relationships over the last few weeks, it's probably taken a little bit of a toll in terms of trying to come to that midpoint, trying to come to that mutual place of understanding. It's probably swung wildly between one extreme and another. But remember, in Scorpio season, as you're reasserting your own self-worth and you're becoming much clearer about what matters and where your priorities lie, it's really going to help you to articulate yourself, especially as we move more deeply into the month of November, okay? Because the energy is going to be supportive and swiftly wanting to progress and to move things forward, okay? Page of Cups comes in, and there's something, you know, with the particular depiction of this card, as he looks kind of surprised at the way that someone's almost taken off in front of his eyes. And this is what I mean. I feel like you're kind of already out there moving, progressing, and wanting to get going, you know. As we approach the eclipse in the sign of Gemini at the end of November, it's a lunar eclipse. It's a fellow air sign. And in that North Node, destiny, fated, pulling us forward into what comes next, you're quite at home in that element of air. So your mind is going to be working overdrive. You're coming to very fast conclusions and you're keeping up. I just think that there are going to be people around you that need a helping hand or need to understand. Otherwise, they're going to feel like they're being left behind in some regards. And that's fine, because perhaps maybe you feel like you do need to take a step away, or you need to give yourself some time and space, or you need to just really focus on yourself. If that's the case, then that's beautiful, that's fine. And as long as you feel good and you are aligned with what's happening within your own soul, fantastic. But if it's people that you want to remain as part of your social circle, part of your personal or professional life, just take a stop and check in. And make sure that they're kind of still on board, or there's still that open, beautiful flow of communication. Remember, intentionality is everything. It's not necessarily what you're saying, but how you're saying it. That's going to make all the difference, you know. It feels like a really personal month for you. The things that are important and what's really surfacing really have your heart space activated, Libra. And the Page of Cups does deliver some meaningful communication, some openness and some emotional honesty that I think is going to be welcomed for many of you. There is support available to you, okay? So if you do feel like you're a little bit out on a limb, or you do feel that there are aspects of your life that you would like to see more of that kinship, more of that sisterhood, more of that brothers in arms, like wherever it is that you feel you want to draw people towards you that are more on your page, set that as your intention, and you will see things happening and moving in the direction that you want to much more favourably as we come towards the end of November. Now, like we said, some of the circumstances and events that can take place this month can feel really exhilarating, exciting, or they could feel utterly terrifying. There's this almost feeling of instantaneous change, okay? Now, throughout the course of 2020, you've been well versed at adapting and having to cope with things changing very quickly, coming to a point of sudden ending or completion. And this is no different, you know. There's something about the quality of November where we see things closing out and simultaneously beginning, but it's meant to be about this level of expansion and growth. Now, we need to remember on the 12th of the month, there's the third Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. The story began on April 3rd and the second act was on June 30th. And this is the closing out of that trilogy, okay? The world, it's wrapping it up here. So, what were the themes? What came up for you? This is about your expansion and deep, profound transformation, you know? There may be a little bit of a clash or a conflict or an unstabilizing energy that comes in and around that moment, particularly as we also see Mars stationing direct a couple of days later. And sometimes when these planets do that, it can feel more upheavaling than when they're sort of deep into the retrograde transit, you know? So just be mindful of that. And what I really don't want you to do, Libra, is to try to second guess or make a judgment call in that mid part of the month and feel like that's the way that things are going to turn out, or that's the way that the cookie crumbles, because it isn't. There are way, way, way more surprise twists and turns. There's more information to come to light. And like we said, this is a real turning point of a month. So if you can kind of clear yourself out, allow that new moon in Scorpio to come in on the 15th, it's going to put a firm focus in and around money and abundance for you as well. So if you are trying to advance yourself or progress anything from a professional capacity, that's going to be a really favourable time for you to do it. There's this note really that is about you understanding the difference between a yes, a no, and a not yet. And it's everything in terms of your attitude towards it, okay? If you see something as a closed door, and you kind of almost sink into the disappointment or the setback that you feel that is presenting to you, you are missing out on what Spirit's really trying to say, which is actually come back in a day, come back in a week, come back in a month, come back when there's a shift in your energy or there's a shift in the collective energy, and you're going to have a really different response here. So keep that in mind with anything that comes up that feels like a hard no. Try to go deeper into the energy of it, Libra, and try and understand if there's something else at play here, and it's just that you're being almost positively held in a space, in a vortex of energy by Spirit, just so that something else can come into play, something else can come into fruition that's going to be supportive to you in terms of this particular situation, okay? Again, it's requiring that level of emotional honesty with yourself and making sure that the things that you are really focused upon, what it is that you're trying to draw towards you, is actually for your highest good. Remember, the world connects into Saturn, and Saturn has been working diligently, consistently, honorously with us in the sign of Capricorn. It's going to get ready to move out of Capricorn in the next few weeks, and so there's going to be that final opportunity for us to really evaluate what we've learned from that taskmaster energy and make sure that we've applied it. But the world suggests that the wrapping ups bring something to a positive or fruitful conclusion for you, okay? Again, don't be too hasty to second guess or try to think what comes next. The Nine of Cups is coming in and wanting you to really take a moment to figure out what the importance you are putting on different things in your life, okay? What is it that matters? You know, she's got all of these cups up in the air, okay? Maybe she can't catch them all, you know? So perhaps there's something just about focusing your attention a little bit through this month of November and realizing that it doesn't mean that you can't have all of these things. Far from it. That's not what we're saying. But again, if we go back to this yes, no, not yet, what we might say is that there are some things that are really favorable at the moment for you to embrace, to work on, and to receive. And that there are other things that require just a little bit more of a divine time in order to get to the perfect point for you, okay? So you have this treasure chest beneath you, all of these jewels, all of these riches, all of these beautiful wishes, hopes, dreams and desires are being held safely. You know, they've not dissipated, they've not disappeared, okay? But there's just something about you deciding perhaps that there are one or two key things that you really want to invest your time and energy wisely with, and let the energy that's building fully support that. And that way you're not going to stretch yourself or spread yourself too thinly, okay? Again, like we said, intentionality is everything. Knight of Swords really for me is the suggestion of how the energy is going to start to change. You can see how fast he's moving towards this motorcycle, and you think about the way a motorcycle just absolutely powers and careers forth when it's kind of being ridden, and there is just something about that energy picking up a pace so quickly. And I think this is why it's really important to remind you that perhaps you need to just focus on a single thing, because if you're not, and that energy starts to billow and really radiate out so powerfully, you could just feel overwhelmed. You could feel a little bit almost disorientated even in that kind of a vibration, okay? Now I know your element of air and your mercurial mind and the way that you work and harness and pick things up is extremely lightning quick, but at the same time, you know, you're also ruled by Venus that wants to indulge and receive that kind of beautiful earthly pleasure and indulge and appreciate and take time to kind of really enjoy and find that sense of balance and harmonizing equilibrium in your world. And so the Knight of Swords for me feels a little bit chaotic. So be aware if there's someone who's approaching you or something that's approaching you and they feel really haphazard, they feel very inconsistent in their presentation of information, of facts, of the way that they feel emotionally. It's not that you need to distance yourself, but at the same time I think there's a little bit of protective energy that perhaps needs to be asserted just for the good of your own well-being through this month of November, Libra, because you know there are major news, major opportunities and big breakthroughs that are possible for you, okay? This, like we said, is a turning point, so you don't want to get caught up in anything that's going to distract you from where you're meant to be heading and what your soul story is really all about. So the card of death comes in, it's linked into the sign of Scorpio, and of course we are doing that deep dive energy as the sun moves through this sign. And for you in that second house, it's helping you to reevaluate, you know, what do I really think about myself? How do I mirror that out to the world and to the people that are in my world? And of course that seventh house in Mars Aries transit is also reflecting that mirroring polar opposite quality that's happening for you this month. Death wants to bring in an opportunity for something to transform, okay? Understand that the transformation at this point in time, at this juncture of the year, is about positive change. This is not about dragging you backwards. Do not be tricked into looking or observing anything external that feels like it's going around for a repeat cycle of something that you can never get out of. It's not the case. Everything is changing. And that closure of the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is the ending of a chapter. It's the ending of a storyline that has played out powerfully in 2020. Now, yes, it may not change instantaneously that day, but that said, November does kind of have that vibe to it. So I wouldn't be at all surprised, but also allow the time to move you forward in the way that Spirit wants you to. Now, Venus moves into Scorpio on the 21st. So from a relationship perspective, and of course this is your ruling sign, you know, Venus is going to be with you in your own sign right up till the 21st, but when it moves into Scorpio, it wants you to bond. It wants you to come together. It wants to have that level of emotional honesty. Forensically speaking, get to the truth of something, get to the heart of the matter. That could be a game changer for some of you in terms of the relationships in your life, your relationship to money, your relationship to your own self-respect, you know. So death comes in and it's a challenged energy, but in the good. Do you know, it's setting you a challenge that you are more than gonna achieve and overcome, and in doing so there's a sense of liberation, transformation and metamorphosis that comes for you that I think you will be able to celebrate. And what that's going to do is to help you feel firmer and have more clarity about what you want for yourself for the future, okay, and start to put plans in place that are going to support that. Again, it's the intentionality and the way that you work with the energy that will make the difference. 5 of Cups comes in because it's part of the process. When something comes to an end, when a chapter closes, when we have a release of something, there's a process of letting go, which sometimes involves a grieving. It involves a sense of reflection, and sometimes requires that we go into that kind of deep kind of melancholy state so that we can allow ourselves to feel things. This is not about an avoidance, it's about feeling into what is happening, understanding the purpose of it, not being terrified by it, but understanding that it's bringing about change, expansion, growth, and the opportunity to move beyond. Remember, the thing with the 5 of Cups is there's always still 2 cups standing. Do you know, there's always that sense of possibility, opportunity, the bright side, something that we can hold on to that's going to pull us out from that kind of spiral, you know. So yes, as a process on an emotional level, there might be some difficult situations or times to navigate, but you have to remember that the way that the energy is supporting you in November, Libra, is all about forward motion, forward movement. And here you need to remember just to call upon and draw upon the support that you have available to you. So, as we approach the latter part of the month and the sun moves in Sagittarius, it lights up your 3rd house of communication, okay? The way that you share what's on your mind, the way that you start to invite people in to how you see the world is what drives success, recognition, and the feeling that you're in the right place at the right time and your time is now. Okay? So if you have a focus on wanting to advance and progress something, you know, whether that be on a relationship, professional, vocational, or even trying to make a change, you know, in your immediate environment, then understand that the way that you are sharing information, the way that you're thinking, the way that you're allowing your thoughts to be orientated only toward the positive, only toward the solutions. Yes, feel into the emotions of where there is disappointment or loss or grief or upset or wound energy. Of course, I'm not suggesting that there's an avoidance or a bypassing of that, far from it, because that's a process that leads you to a sense of feeling liberated and able to actually own something. There's something about an ownership, you know, I own how I feel, I own what I've been through. I'm prepared to now use that to allow my soul to expand and to support the growth that is being presented to me this month, okay? But I certainly have a good feeling in terms of the month of November for the professional and business aspect of our lives and really getting things moving again, okay? And like I said, don't be caught up in thinking that just because there may be external situations and factors that are trying to limit or restrict you for their own agendas at different times, that does not have to be your reality in terms of the way that you choose to direct your focus and what you can create and what you can make happen. Just remember that. Right at the center of your reading, this Nine of Cups is suggesting that some kind of wish that you have is set to reveal itself, set to feel more close than it's ever felt, than it's ever been before. Okay? Your oracle card this month, Libra, is change. The winds of change are here. This is what we need. Now, it might feel a bit chaotic and disruptive that everything's getting turned on its head, okay? But sometimes that's required in order to create space for the new things to come through. Now, yes, there's some clouds building in the background here, okay? But there's messengers here, you know, the bird is sat and it's directed, firmly focused, you know, and showing you where you're heading, where you're moving to, okay? You can also see that actually the winds of change here are almost an extension of her energy, which suggests that the change comes from within and is spiraling outwards from you, rather than it being an external event that then hits you and blindsides you. So that's one thing I'll say. Now, the energy of the eclipse is more favourable in an air sign for you as Libra, should mean that you may have an indication already as we approach this, you know, even as I film towards the end of October, in terms of what that may be delivering for you, you know. We need to remind ourselves that our ability to thrive in periods of disruption and change and actually come out with even more positive wisdom and understanding is really there at our fingertips. And I feel really positive about the fact that this winds of change is coming through for you. Even 24 comes down to a number 6, which is actually about balance. It's actually about bringing in choices that are going to help you to find that equilibrium in your world. That is what you need in order to be at your absolute best. So let's take a look at your Moonology card here. Communication is key. Well, really, it's just reflective of what we've been saying, isn't it? The new moon in Gemini, okay, so a fellow air sign. But the way you speak, what you say and how you say it, and the way that it's directed is going to make all the difference to your experience and also to what you get. I feel like if you there's that quality, if you don't ask, you won't get. So stretch yourself, put yourself out there, be cheeky, and if there's something that you want that you think is beyond you or a stretch, just do yourself a favor and knock on the door anyway. Put yourself in a position where you can be seen, you can be acknowledged. This is about a demonstration of your self-worth and value in a new way than you ever have before, Libra. Your ideas matter, your perspective absolutely matters, and your leadership is required in many instances right now. But even in those personal and love relationships, communication is everything, okay? You have to understand the other person's perspective. You have to understand what they've been through and where they are at on their own particular journey. We all have our own set of challenges to navigate. Some of those you are doing together and facing together, and others are deeply personal, and we're never really walking in another person's shoes. So remember to share your thoughts, feelings and emotions, and give space and time for the other person to do the same. Now, if you are experiencing a situation where that's really not possible, or you're actually just moving away or moving out from a particular connection, you're going to find the support and the nurturing and the kind of energy that you need in order to regain your balance, okay? But this is also something about movement forward and allowing a chapter to close. There's a sense of finality that's coming in at this point in the year, that when things are leaving our life at this time, you know, the door is really about closing, and it's about exploring the new possibilities, okay? So allow yourself permission to feel what you need to feel, but don't block yourself off to the new things that also want to come in, because that feels the exhilaration and the vibrancy and the excitement of that possibility. Okay, Libra, so this is a general reading. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do drop me your feedback, your comments. Make sure you check through the month and just see how some of this plays out for you in terms of when the energy shifts take place. And if you'd like to join me for the extended, we're just going to talk for another 20 minutes or so with regards to these messages and see what else we can unearth for you. So go ahead and think about a question I may not have answered in this general reading. We'll pull a couple of cards on it now for you. You can find the link for the extended in the description box or the comment section underneath. It's a way to support my channel and I'm very grateful for that. Okay, Two of Wands, bringing in the Nine of Wands, Seven of Swords. You have to trust yourself. And perhaps you have to trust others, even when you may not want to, or they haven't really given you cause to. Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords, world, death, definitely a sense of something quite strongly closing out for you this month. Temperance coming in here, beautiful sense of balance and adjustment, healing energy, strength, beautiful. Linking into the signs of Leo and also Sagittarius may be relevant. And Page of Cups, of course, water sign, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. And there's your sign. Justice card coming through, Libra. I'd like to see that for you this month. And the Star. There's a beautiful sense of recovery here, hope and healing, if that's what you need to hear. Okay, card of the Lovers, Gemini here. Maybe a focus around partnerships, agreements, relationships. Choices coming, remember? Knight of Swords again. Twice it's shown up. May well be a Gemini energy here that's relevant. Or another air sign. Remember the yes, no, and not yet. I think that's going to be really relevant with that Five of Swords to make sure that you're looking at it in the right way. Card of the Two of Swords also links into your sign, Libra. Lots of high emotions going on there with the 5, the Tower and the 10, so we'll dive into that in a bit more detail. Success through hard work. Nice. Okay, Libra, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to continuing this conversation if you're joining me for the extended. Otherwise, I wish you a beautiful month of November. We'll connect again for our final reading of the year in December. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for being here. Bye.